More than 50% of people in the world are living in like urban cities, and urban governance may be much directed by this population who lives in that particular city, and people with talent and mobility are just moving around in the world. So that becomes borderless and more careless about nationality. And what's happening in Arab Spring, they get to know what's happening, and they begin to think, they begin to see whatever the reason, they are not treated fair. And I think, for example, in the US, annual income of top 1% capture 25% of the entire sort of money flow in the US. And if it comes to world, top 1% of people capture 99% of this wealth in the world. And then with accessibility and connectivity and also like touch panel and mobile phone, 99% of people in Nigeria and Tripoli or wherever I view, and they begin to see it's such an unjust life we are spending. That is the reason whatever government says, whatever educated democracy, they are not fair, they are not happy with that. So sometimes it just happens. So what I'm saying is this principle is changing that sort of theory, but it takes certain times and years to the majority. That is the leading way, and we still framing the normal created by this since the Industrial Revolution. It's changing phase at the moment. So many things happen, and 99% of people, or 80% of them, have access to it, and they say it's not fair. So that is the democracy. Certainly, democracy will work in Turkey and many Middle East countries, but in transition, many things happen. That is the reason this world becomes, in a way, more interdependent, interconnected, and oil, and also terrorists, and everything could happen. And that we live in a very fragile, uncertain times. This is a big transition in my view.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Kurokawa, for your very insightful presentation. So we'll come back to the discussion towards the end of this session. But now I'd like to invite Professor Shunji Matsuoka from Waseda University to the podium. Professor Matsuoka's background is development economics, but since what happened in Fukushima, he's been devoting quite a lot of his time into the research on governance and nuclear-related issues, including energy issues. Professor Matsuoka, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kurokawa Sensei. So encourage their speech. And this time is so limited time. I have just 10 minutes, right? Okay. So I would like to talk about the several aspects of so the 2011 March 11th. After that, already 1 year and 10 months passed. Gradually, just after earthquake and tsunami and Fukushima accident, big shock to the Japanese society, and people, so they are very hard to care the evacuees or those kind of people, but already 1 year and 10 months passed. So they are gradually people back to their ordinary living condition, but still remain the evacuees people, they are very extraordinary situation. So I think this time we have to very carefully assess 1 year, 10 months, these days, what happened, what's happening, and what's the next step. And one of the important keywords to understand the present situation right now, I think a sort of dual society or gap between the many places. So there are gap. I wrote between Iwate and Miyagi and Fukushima. Absolutely, the Iwate and Miyagi, these two prefectures, and also Fukushima, heavily hit by the big earthquake, magnitude 9.0, and And also after that, almost 40 or 50 or 1 year, 1 hour after, very big tsunami, more than 10 meters. So there are several places, 16 or 17 meters, very big tsunami hit it. All of these three prefectures. But especially the Fukushima case, not only tsunami or earthquake, so they are hit by the nuclear accident, level 7.0, or equivalent to the Chernobyl accident. So they are even three prefectures, Iwate, Miyagi case and Fukushima case is a very big difference and gap. And also even Fukushima, so they are evacuated people, so they are from the 20 kilometers from Fukushima Daiichi. And other local people in Fukushima, those are sort of a gap between local people in Fukushima and also evacuees in Fukushima. That is very much important. And also, absolutely, local sensei talked about the gap between expert and layer, between expert and people or public, also very much important. So we should understand this kind of a gap. So I think that this kind of a gap, according to the days or months, increasing the gap. So we have to think about how to fill up this gap. That is a very much important point. And also, second point, talking about Fukushima accident. Also, we have gap between technical capacity and social capacity. This is also the very serious discussion about professionals in nuclear engineers in Japan or in the world. But in my position, I'm not an engineer. I'm a development economist or environmental economist. But I'm now as a project leader for the nuclear risk governance supported by Ministry of Education of Japan for 3 years big project. We are now implementing, including nuclear engineers we have. We are discussing. One of the important point to understand the Fukushima accident that is also the gap between technical capacity and social capacity. A certain level of technical capacity, regulatory agency in Japan, so they have, but they couldn't manage or use those kind of technical capacity. I mean that kind of capacity is a term of social capacity. Then I wanted to talk about the gap between technical capacity and social capacity issue. That is very much important. And also this kind of gap between technical capacity and social capacity, that is based upon the sort of institutional mass dependency of regulatory agencies development in Japan. Nuclear safety regulation in Japan highly depend upon the nuclear development institutions. So the key institution that is the nuclear development institution. Then sort of the sub institution is nuclear safety. That kind of mass dependency highly defined on this kind of gap between technical capacity and social capacity. And then we are now talking about next step after Fukushima accident. After Fukushima accident still continue. It's a long way to recover Fukushima area, especially the heavily polluted area. So they are up to 20 kilometers. So the government decided some of the area